What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Story Mode, the sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, and sometimes quarterly interview podcast series here at Infinity Gaming. Today, I'm joined by the Golden Bolt himself, Kevin, from, the Golden Bolt and NewTubers. How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Tired. It's cold. It's
Yeah,
rainy.
it's not rainy here at least, so that's good. But I'm getting cold and tired. I understand that.
Yeah, Nebraska's been weird this year. Like, we went from high 40s to then low 20s, and now we're back up to the high 40s, mid 50s range.
God, I mean,
Climate
I'll take
change.
50s. I'll take 50s for winter, for what it is at least.
Yeah. Well, Kevin, this is a simple podcast. It's an interview podcast, like we talked about. How'd you get started on YouTube? This is a basic question I ask everyone because everybody's either a YouTuber, podcaster, or streamer. How'd you get started in this wonderful world?
Um, it was sort of just a thing where it was something I always really kind of wanted to do ever since I was first really exposed to the idea of YouTube creation. Which was probably later than most people. It was probably like 2012 ish. I started getting introduced to the Game Grumps, and then from there, other creators like Some Call Me Johnny and whatnot. And so when the funny story about my original content creation journey that I don't talk about much is I started a Let's Play channel with a couple of my friends after JonTron left the Game Grumps.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I kind of was like, yo, we should finish Sonic 06. That was kind of the thing. Like I was like, I wanted to see it through to the end, and they weren't going to do it. So I was like, let me try and do it with my friends. And we went through and we did it. And we did a couple other games, and that kind of just, as most Let's Play channels do, fell by the wayside after like a year. But we did
Mm-hmm.
do what we set out to do. So I was happy with that.
You
And then,
finished the worst Sonic game ever made.
yep, I have indeed done that on PS3.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was that. And then for a while, just nothing came of YouTube anymore. I just kind of watched and consumed in my spare time, whenever I wasn't watching TV or doing schoolwork or work or, whatever else was in life. And then it was around 2014, I started kind of getting that itch again to consider doing YouTube content in a more dedicated way instead of having other people that I would have to rely on to record with me or, edit it or upload it or whatever it might be. I was like, let me just try and do something in that Some Call Me Johnny style. He was my top inspiration to start YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of started brainstorming some ideas, and then we kind of got some names down. I don't remember any of the other names besides the Golden Bolt, but there were a few. There were quite a few, and I wish I'd had them written down, but they're completely lost to time. And so sometime around the end of 2015, I started really getting it together where I was like, okay, so it's going to be the Golden Bolt. I kind of spent 6 months or so ironing out what my review structure was going to be. My methodology for scoring games, because I didn't want to do an overall score or anything like that. So I just did categories like many reviewers now and have done before me. So story, gameplay, presentation, and other categories sometimes. And I would rate them on a scale of bolts out of Ratchet and Clank. So there's the Golden Bolt, which is legally distinct from the Gold Bolt. I want to make that very clear right now. There's Silver Bolts, Bronze Bolts, No Bolt, and there's the Platinum Bolt for something that I think is absolutely perfect in that category. And so that was kind of like my structure. I felt really good about it. I uploaded my first video on March 3rd, 2016, about 3.5 years ago, a little over that now. And within 2 videos, I kind of changed that structure already. So that's kind of emblematic of YouTube, is that you think you have everything ready, and then within a month, you're like, oh, this is completely different now. Cool.
I think that's what I've learned with my whole YouTube journey is I just oh, this is what I'm gonna do. Oh no, that didn't work. So let's just throw it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big fan of early planning for a lot of the stuff I do, which is why I spent 6 months on that. It's why I'm #secrets. I'm currently spending a few months planning an idea that I want to work on. I spend a lot of time sculpting these ideas to be as good as I can possibly make them before I do anything with them. And that's true
Mhm.
for like my review series, my current structure, my plus one series, and then this hashtag secret series that I won't discuss much.
Mine is basically like 8 months of research.
Well, research is good. I've spent a good amount of time on research. This is one of my more recent videos. I spent a lot of time on research,
Hmm.
and it was just I didn't. It was not a fun time. That video took a long time and kind of put me behind on everything else. But that's okay. It was a good video.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you here. Like, I haven't watched a lot of your content. I saw you because of the Last of Us video. I was like, oh, this guy understands. Like, yeah, this is a great game, and it changed the industry in many ways, but it's not flawless.
Yeah, and that's an interesting video to have found me from because that one was like very very much out of my usual wheelhouse, as it were.
Mm.
Um, because so what happened with my channel was around so for about 2 years I did just game reviews in that structure. So like your usual YouTube reviewer who goes through games and kind of critiques them in a modern light, while respecting their stance at the time that they came out, and
Mm.
what they were. In fact, I should say, a history section in most of my reviews where I would go through and kind of dive into what led to that game happening, which was kind of a weird thing because I'd talk about the history and then I would review it, and that's not really YouTube conducive anymore. But
No, not at all.
uh, at a certain point, about a year after I started my channel, I shifted up a little bit. I was like, I got to figure out a way to do shorter content, shorter reviews, shorter length, shorter content of any sort, that would let me make more than one video every 2 weeks at best, or every 3 weeks, or whatever it might be.
Mm.
Um, and it kind of came to me in my sleep. I'm not even kidding. I had the idea of PlayStation Plus reviews, and at the same time, or I had came up with the name again in my sleep of Plus One. Uh, and so I wrote that down. Thankfully, I don't really wake up from ideas in my sleep, but I woke up and I wrote that down. And then, like a week later, I had the tagline, which was "The games may be free, but your time is valuable." Because every month on PlayStation Plus, they give away, at the time, like 6 free games. Now, like 2 free games, if you have PS Plus. And I was like,
Mm.
well, I'm not playing these games anyway, and I kind of really want to go back and play and enjoy those games for what they are. I'm paying for them, kind of, so I kind of want to see if they're worth it. And no one else was reviewing PS Plus games, so that was my way through. So I would do like short, at the time, 3-minute videos on each PS Plus game, which it's very hard to condense an entire review into 3 minutes. Let me just say. Um,
Yeah,
Looking back, I don't know how I did that, but that's how it started, and then that kind of uh,
the magic of
bloomed
editing.
out. Yeah, yeah. Well, even like just the scripts, I don't know how I would get them down. It was because that was just one page, just one written single space page of work. That was the whole video. Um, which eventually that kind of ballooned out a little bit to 6 minutes. And then from there, recently I've taken it, and now that there's only 2 games, I've done one video that's about 15 minutes that covers both games, just because that's more valuable to my time, as opposed to doing, if I want to do one video a week, that's half my month right there, and that's fine. But I don't really want to spend that much time on each game anymore from an upload perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I was going with that, but there was a reason I led into that. But I've lost that thought. But we got through 2 of my three content styles, so we're getting there.
Yeah, well, the most important thing I feel is like I'm losing my train of thought too, man.
It's infectious.
It is. It's the worst part. It's like the podcast flu. You gotta watch out for it. But like, what I like is there's a bunch of man. This is
Oh, I
bad.
remember where I was going. I got it.
Oh, okay.
The Last of Us video was very different in that style because I didn't do a PS Plus video that month. That was the first month since February 2017 that I hadn't reviewed both PS Plus games. And that was because one game that was free was The Last of Us, and the other game was MLB The Show.
Oh,
So,
okay.
not a knock on the show. I have nothing against that game or that series or baseball, but I didn't feel it was worth it to discuss whether you should download and play a baseball game that's 30 gigs of hard drive space or not, because you already know if you like baseball or baseball video games, excuse me. So it didn't make sense for me to do that. And I didn't feel that The Last of Us was a very conducive video to do a +1 on, because I don't think it's fair to do a 6-minute hey, here's The Last of Us. It's this, and this. Yes, you should download it, obviously. So I wanted to do something bigger, which was a video that I've had in my head for a long time, because I didn't initially really like The Last of Us all that much, which is a controversial thought.
Oh my God, how dare you?
I enjoyed the gameplay, but the story was very predictable to me, and the characterization I didn't really click with at the time that the game first hit my control hands.
My God, how dare you?
And then playing through it again for this video, it kind of all clicked in a better light to me, but I still had those same issues that I had before. And that's why I made that video. But that was essentially a substitute for a +1 that month, for the first month. So that's what I was saying regarding +1.
Yeah. Well, like, I feel you can boil down gaming YouTube. The gaming YouTube scene is changing, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and maybe we can transition into your YouTuber scene. But
Sure.
like, you can kind of boil it down to YouTube, the gamer YouTubers, to like 3 or 4 sections. There's your reviewers, the guys that talk about the news, the drama channels, or as usual, and then the Let's Players. Now, I guess the 5th one would be the history guys, which is very limited. But like, if you've been paying attention to gaming YouTube as much as I assume both of us have, I feel like the video lengths have been getting longer, and because people have wanted them to, like we maybe just because we've gotten older, we want to stay with one creator longer than we used to. And I feel there's an opening now for like videos like your Last of Us one, which is like, let's talk about a video game in a way that really we don't do as much as we really should. You see what I'm saying? Like, let's talk about let's talk about it.
So I think I agree mostly with what you said there. I think that I'd probably get nitpicky with the exact definitions of the different ones, because I think there's also like delineations and markers between the different categories.
I'm not saying you can only go into these 5 categories.
No, of course. But I think a lot of them have been trying to cross over into categories, and you can really see that when someone like, let's say Arlo. I'm a fan of Arlo. I've met him once or twice. He's a really cool dude. He kind of straddles that line between reviewer, news, and random discussion video.
Yeah, 100%.
And that works for what it is, but the problem is that if it wasn't for the puppet, I would argue, you're creating 2 different audiences until you get to that point that people are there just for you rather than your take, or rather than the topic. Because when I first started my channel, and I'm still of this opinion, when you start a channel, content first. No one cares about you. I'm sorry to say, like, personally speaking, no one cares about that individual creator that has, 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. I would say up to like 25,000, 50,000 subscribers. No one cares about that person just yet, because you haven't built that name, you haven't built that rapport. So the puppet was really a good way for him to kind of pull those people in. I remember when before he even blew up, he was actually shared on an old forum that I used to go on. And like, I was like, man, this guy's good, and I like the puppet gimmick. It's really unique. If not for that unique gimmick and his charm, it would have been harder for him to pull off 2 niches at once. And I think a lot of channels in that, I would say, middle large length, around 100,000 subscribers, kind of get stuck on that, where they just make content to make content because they've been told you have to upload daily videos, which I will argue very much is false.
I feel like at a certain point it's true, though. You have to be somewhat consistent.
No, consistency is fine to an extent. I say that as I'm trying to be consistent in 2020. Because for reference, I to kind of iron out my own personal growth. So currently speaking, I'm around 10,500 subscribers. which not a lot, but it's something. You know,
67.
in the grand scheme, I should say it's not a lot. Obviously, I'm very grateful to have 10,500, but you know, when you're talking from the perspective I am, I can see why people would say, well, that's not a lot, and I'll explain why I'm gonna take that another direction when we get to the YouTuber side of things.
Mhm.
When my first year, I gained 162 subscribers from March to February on 20 something videos. My second year, thanks to Plus One, I had like 60 videos. I think 2017, I had 60 videos because I did every PS Plus game mostly individually. So I had more than one video a week. I went from 1,000, or from, I'm sorry, 162 to, I think I ended just around 2,000. My third year, 2018, I ended around 6,000. And in 2019, from just the part of 2019 that we're through now, I've gained an extra pretty much double of my channel from what it was, because I had just hit 6,000 on January 1st. And then one of my videos went to the front page of YouTube a week after that. So I gained like 1,000 subscribers. And it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
But, I've been less consistent this year than I ever have outside of my first year. And I've doubled my channel size.
Oh yeah.
Because
100%.
at a certain point, it's consistency becomes both more and less important depending on the scale you're talking about. I'm currently hitting a bit of a growth, like I don't want to say slump, but a valley
Plateau.
Yeah, because I'm suffering for the slower uploads that I had the past couple months because I've just been busy. So until this past month, I'd uploaded maybe 1.5 videos a month on average, when I'd been uploading at least 2 a month forever since before then.
Yeah.
And so I'm suffering for that now because my videos are being less recommended. Also because the PS Plus trend has been doing weirdly for me lately. So those videos used to get, I just punched my microphone. Sponsored by Don't Punch Your Microphone. My PS Plus videos used to pull several thousand views per video, and now they're kind of like at 2,000 ish, which is still great, but it's not pulling in that same audience that it used to.
Yeah.
So consistency is fine, but you have to be consistent within what you are doing, and you have to make sure that your quality does not dip for the name, for the sake of consistency.
100%.
Is more my point.
Listen, right now, like I could have stopped. And I told people this all the time, like people I like close friends I've talked to about this. I could have stopped 3 months ago and put out this video I've been working on, and it would have been the most in-depth history of the topic than that was on YouTube. But for me, it was more like, hey, I know there's more. Let's see how much I can get before I hit a wall that I just couldn't get past. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And that's where I'm at now, which was like I hit this wall, I couldn't get past it. Like I cold called the same everyone under one name in the phone book, like to try and get a hold of people. Didn't work out my way. So like I'm like, well, I'm gonna make a video on what I can do now. And now it's more like, let's mess with the editing style. Let's get in with the audio transitions. Let's go in with all this stuff that, the nitty gritty of YouTube that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but I'm sure me and you are fascinated by.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another example that comes to mind that was literally within the past month was there's this channel named Average Pixel. I don't know if you saw him. He went from, I think he had 1,000 subscribers tops to 127,000 in the span of the past 3 weeks because he uploaded one video. The first video he had worked on in over a year, but the sheer amount of time that this guy had put into all the animation and all of the editing of this video was insane. It's I think a 20-minute video or 18-minute video, somewhere thereabouts, and every single frame is meticulous.
What's it about?
It's something about something to the tune of satisfying reloading animations in video games, within shooter games.
That doesn't sound like it'd be a video that would blow up. You know what I mean? Like
it doesn't. But there's also another take that, again, I think we can get into later. That I think it's exactly the kind of video that blows up, especially because of that quality. It's got, I think, over 1 million views last I checked.
Oh.
Dude just absolutely skyrocketed because of the amount of work that went into that video. And he's the opposite of consistent. It was his fourth video,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, ever. His first video the entire year. He'd been working an entire year on this one video. And that one paid off. I'm not saying if you spend an entire year on a video, it's going to pay off, but sometimes it does. And when it does, it's going to pay off greatly.
You're not filling me with confidence here, buddy.
It's the amount of work that he put into the editing production of that video.
I'm not expecting mine to blow up. The reason why I did this is for another project. This is a beta test for a bigger project. So
yeah, and that's what matters, because I think especially when like it's your first jump at it. Like I'm sure this guy is like a professional animator or editor somewhere, if I had to guess. Because it's one of the most high quality videos I've ever seen on YouTube from a pure production standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of why I say consistency doesn't necessarily make a huge difference as much as you think it does. It's consistent quality over consistent uploads. Both can help you in different ways.
100%.
But I have another friend, Mini-Me, a very awesome dude. Good friend of mine. We chat all the time, and he's a great dude. He went from 1,000 to like 12,000 subscribers overnight, just because his videos clicked in the algorithm. He'd been working on them for a while, and he was the reason that you saw throughout most of 2017 or 2018, somewhere thereabouts, a bump in videos titled something about like graphically impressive Game Boy Advance games. He was the Game Boy Advance guy in search results for a long time, just because he did a bunch of videos on it, and their frequency wasn't super consistent. Like he might have had like, one a week for a couple weeks, and then like, 3 weeks off or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. But just the actual quality was consistent, and most importantly, the topic was interesting enough by itself that it could get clicked. Not the thumbnail, not the title itself, the actual pure topic was interesting enough to be clickable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing I was going to say we can get into in a moment, which was there was an interview I did with Ant Dude for the NewTubers podcast.
Oh, what the hell, man? You know Ant Dude?
Yeah, he's cool. He and I were talking. I had reached out to him because we met at Too Many Games a few years prior, and this was back like he was like sort of blowing up at that point, but he hadn't really blown up, if my memory serves. This was, I think, 2015, and we just happened to accidentally chat for like an hour 2 different times.
Mm-hmm.
Like we bumped into each other at the convention, and we just kind of chatted about whatever came to mind, and it was really cool. It was really awesome to chat with him as much as it did, and like after that, we've chatted a couple, every year since we see each other. And we chat for a little bit, and I had asked him the one year, hey, you want to come on a NewTubers podcast, talk about how you got through YouTube, like how you got to where you were. And so when we chatted on the podcast, he had one thing to say. The way that he described his channel was what changed me to my current content style, which coming full circle here. Which was the way he said. He was like, hi, I'm Ant Dude, Anthony. I do gaming videos about lesser known topics within well-known gaming franchises, usually Nintendo. And the examples that he gave, and the ones that I've since like researched, because I realized what he said had like kind of blown my mind. The lesser known topics part was what got me, because if you look at most of the videos he's done, he has a video on Yoshi's Island sequels. So Yoshi's Island on DS and new Yoshi's Island on the 3DS. Yoshi's Island 1 is considered one of the best platformers ever made. Why does nobody talk about 2 and 3? At all. No one talks about them. Is it because they're bad? Why? So he made a video on it. Or one of the videos he had done was on every single Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games game, until the newest one, obviously. Mm-hmm. And that one was very much like a, hey, this is a game you always knew existed and you might have played, but why does nobody talk about them? It's been 10 years since most of them came out, so what's so interesting? What makes them interesting? What makes them good enough that they made one every 2 years until 2018 and then came back in 2020? What about them was so high selling? Like, what made them so high selling, rather? Several videos like that he's done. And so that kind of changed how I looked at YouTube the first big time. And then the second big time was a spin on that, again, more recently. As far as at least educational, entertaining gaming content goes, this will be different. Your mileage may vary depending on your topic. But I started looking at every video that I watch, whether it's in gaming or not, because most of what I watch isn't in gaming. It's mostly my friends that I watch in gaming nowadays because there's so much good content out there from creators that need the support more than 600,000 subscriber channels.
100%.
So I support the smaller boys when I can because they're all friends. And so what I did was I looked at all the videos that did super successfully, from my buddy Mini Me to Ant Dude to other channels that have blown up to a huge degree. Scott the Woz, for example, biggest example of an explosion I think YouTube ever. Literally the second most subscribers in a month ever, if my memory serves. From low, like a highest percentage growth rather.
Okay.
And I looked at all their videos and what it was they did, and it was all the topic. Not to dismiss the content within, but the actual subject of the video itself was interesting enough that it got you to click regardless of the thumbnail, regardless of the title necessarily. I mean, the title obviously has an importance, as does the thumbnail. But if the topic was inherently interesting, you were more likely to click through it. And that changed how I looked at how I made my videos. And that kind of moved me away from my traditional reviews into more of what I do now, which is sort of topic / video essays / other miscellaneous gaming, whatever, which varies from game to game. So I've been focusing on, again, lesser known topics that might be interesting to somebody who sees it in the recommended feed. So an example that I did recently was the Pokemon Mini, which was a Nintendo console that was the smallest handheld cartridge-based system ever made. It's entirely based on Pokemon. It's a Game Boy, essentially a little like micro-sized Game Boy that came out in 2001, the peak of Pokemania, and it bombed. It's the worst thing they've ever done in terms of sales.
Yeah.
Worse than the Virtual Boy.
I know a little bit about it, yes.
So I did a video on that, and mine didn't blow up, but Did You Know Gaming did one like yesterday, and that one blew up. And that's awesome because I'm a fan of theirs. So that was an interesting enough topic. Clearly, I just didn't hit the right audience on that.
No. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead.
Were these dramatic shifts in how you looked at the production of YouTube videos and how you made your YouTube videos? Were these the catalyst behind you wanting to create what NewTube is, or like, where does NewTube really fit in on this? Because like, I'm just trying to shift the conversation towards that too, because we've been dancing around it and dipping our toe in it. I feel like we should just jump in.
NewTubers is the single largest content creator community in history. There are 110,000 creators across YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, wherever you want to call content creation, all banding together to learn, grow, and develop their channels, their brands, their strategies themselves together. And in many ways, it acts as a almost a think tank of ideas, where all these creators can throw their ideas out and discuss, whatever it might be, like, oh, do you think this is a good idea for a video? Or, oh, is this a good sponsorship deal? How does sponsoring work on YouTube? Or how do I even start using OBS for Twitch? Because the fact of the matter is, YouTube doesn't like to tell you these things. They don't have a good creator support system. And they say they do. They do not. It's awful. And it was even worse back in 2016 when I first created my channel. So when you first start a channel, and this is a question for you, what do you do to get views?
I just start putting stuff out.
But where and how and when?
When I first started, and technically when I do now, because I really don't have a schedule, is I make the video, and either I hold it for a podcast. I usually hold it for like a Monday or Wednesday or a Friday, and if it's just like a one-off video, I just put it out as soon as it's done.
So what do you do from there? How do you make sure it gets views?
I tweet it out, and that's it.
Okay, so you tweet it to your group of followers. You hope that they like it or retweet it, and you hope that the Twitter algorithm sends that to their followers, the followers of your followers, and that they are interested enough to click through.
Yep.
Generally, on average, it's like a 1% click-through rate on just to click the tweet itself.
Yep,
so when somebody likes this, if you,
I understand I understand the shortcomings of my process.
No. I'm not.
No. I understand. For me, like, my biggest problem is and we talked about this when we first started. I'm coming at this very much as like I just wanted to be the guy behind the keyboard, writing, and put it up and let somebody else handle it. And now over time, it's evolved to me being like, there's not enough people talking about games in an interesting manner or in the way that I want to talk about games. There's not enough people that are doing 8 months of research on a video game history section. And I understand why now to some extent. But you see what I'm saying? So
yeah. Now, the reason I ask those questions is your response was you understand it. But where else would you share a video? How do you get that video to get recommended? Because YouTube isn't going to tell you that. They're going to say, make an interesting thumbnail. Well, what's an interesting thumbnail? Make it eye-catching. Well, what's eye-catching? Put yourself in the picture of the thumbnail. Okay, what does that mean? Why?
Mm-hmm.
All of these factors and more go into promoting your video, let alone making it. Because when you're making a video, and I know you know this, and I know many of our viewers today might know this, you are the writer, the actor, the director, the producer, the editor, the sound guy, and the social media marketing team for your videos.
100%.
And if you're making videos every other week, you're making a full season of content. You're making 20 videos. More than 20 videos. They're making 26 videos, to be specific. At least. That's more than most television shows have seasons, and you're making them, depending on how long they are, fully edited, documentary-styled pieces, or whatever they might be.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I first started my channel, I was like, well, where do I go? What am I doing to grow? Because I was serious this time. I wanted this to be a valuable investment of my time. I wanted to create a community of like-minded individuals who could discuss the games I'm talking about or games I'm not talking about together. Why else do you create it? I mean, you're not creating a YouTube channel for money. Let's be real.
100%.
At least I hope you're not, because it'd be a long wait.
It'd be nice. Don't get me wrong. It'd still be nice. That's pie in the sky, though.
Yeah. So what I did was I started searching, because I know JonTron blew up on Reddit. So I went to Reddit, and most Reddit communities now hate YouTube, or did at the time in 2016, because most of them still do, but it depends on what you're sharing and where.
By the way, I am banned from the Xbox subreddit. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Pleasant. So it makes sense that Reddit doesn't like YouTube unless it's Donkey, because what you're asking them to do is leave that website and go to another. Same with Twitter. You're asking them to leave the platform that they are choosing to be on to be somewhere else, and they're at a different medium because it's different from reading versus watching. So
100%.
when I went to Reddit, it was obviously a rude awakening. I didn't share much, but I was like trying to figure out where to share, because where do I share a video on where I review Sly Cooper? R/PlayStation? No, that's too general. R/PlayStation 2? There's no one there. R/Sly Cooper? There's like 5 people there. All these factors. And then, so I kind of like, by my second video, I was like, well, how do I find a way to learn how to get this video out there? Not to share it, but how to learn how to have it organically shared. And so I happened to find NewTubers. For whatever reason, that just happened to be a thing. I think I said, like, I literally typed in new YouTubers, because NewTubers existed before I took over. It was a thing for about a year prior, maybe 2 years. When I got there, it was literally speaking a dump. I don't mean that as an insult to what it was. It's what we called a link dump, because every hour there were hundreds of creators with 1, 2, 20, 30, 40, 500 subscribers. Normally the 500 subscriber ones would subscribe to others to get them to subscribe back, which doesn't work. And they were all sharing videos into this ether, and none of them were being seen. So I shared one time, and I was like, let me see how it goes. Not a single person saw that thread. I can guarantee it. So then the second time I shared again, but this time I went on to the next most recent video. I watched it and I gave a little bit of feedback. I said, hey, I liked this video. Here's what you could do to improve for next time. And that was the first comment I think I'd seen on that subreddit from the prior few months, from what I could. So that person was appreciative, and I said, hey, just pay it forward. Before you post your next time, comment on somebody else's. By the third time that I had posted, I had made a thread and said, like, hey, we should really like work together, not to watch each other's videos, but posting videos doesn't do anything. And the post after that, I was actually a message I sent to the guy who had at the time owned NewTubers. And I said, hey, it's very clear that you're not doing much with this. No knock on you. It's a hard job, but I think I could take it over and make it into something that can truly help people in the way that I think you envisioned. And he said, sure, I trust your plan. I trust your judgment. And he gave me full access to the subreddit. And from there, my partner Moriarty came on. Moriarty from Crymore Gaming. He's the co-director, co-owner of NewTubers with me. And then we brought on a mod team. We moved on to Discord as well as Reddit, and we started building out a vision for what we could do to improve the entire YouTube creator community. And
the entire, not just the gaming.
No, it's not just for gaming. It's for creators in general. We have, I think our audience is 40% gaming. There's like a 15% beauty creators, 15% vloggers. We have people that are in the van life community, which is where people build out like different vans and vehicles to live in, part-time or full-time. They're creators of every single genre you can imagine, and then some. I've learned so much about YouTube just from seeing what other people post that have their own dedicated niches that I didn't even know existed.
That makes sense.
So we built out NewTubers into what it was. So that at the time it had about 5,000 subscribers, somewhere thereabouts, and now we're just about to cross 110 subscribers on the Reddit. And we have 4,000 or 5,000 active people on Discord, talking every day, and that sounds like an intimidating amount, but not all of them are talking every day. But we have a relatively active community with several sub niches for different genre types, different content types, different interest types. So you can talk about whatever it might be to build a community, not just of viewers, but of people you can go to talk to about anything. Because YouTube is one of the loneliest jobs in the world. It might not seem like it is. It absolutely might not seem like it is, because you're sending a video out into this ether, and you might have 50, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million people watching, 500 people tweeting at you every hour saying, oh, you should make this video, or I really like this video, or oh, you're a jerk, or whatever it might be. But none of them necessarily understand what it is that you go through to make a video, because you are holed up in your room editing away, writing a script, figuring out whatever it might be. And I've spoken to creators, because the other thing about NewTubers is it's not just for small creators. We say that it's the small creator community, but we have a sister community called r/creator, on Reddit, and then just creator everywhere else. For creators that have graduated past our YouTuber standards of 5,000 subscribers is where you're officially, hey, YouTube almost cares about you. That's kind of the stage you're at. So it becomes a support group for those creators that understand that, hey, not everything applicable to YouTubers that's posted in there every single day is going to be applicable to me. So that community is for those creators that say, hey, how can I set up merch sites? How can I, what are brand deals? How can I figure out how to create a Patreon and monetize my work even more so I can make a little bit of money to justify putting more and more time into this hobby or whatever it might be.
100%.
I've talked to creators who have 100,000, 200,000, a million, 2 million subscribers that are on YouTubers that started on YouTubers. And they appreciate that this community exists because they can talk about anything with anyone and get a perspective that might not be incredibly valuable to their personal thought process, but it's valuable to have. It's valuable to just shoot the crap. I caught myself with people. To shoot the breeze is I think the correct term with people and talk about anything.
100%. Like, yeah, YouTube is very, like, at the bottom line, it's basically you are in a room, and like you said before, you're 100% in control of the output. But, like, there's no one standing over your shoulder telling you to do this. There's no one that's, like, no one really knows what you're up to but you until it's out there. And it's incredibly lonely because, like, when you're in that small section, and I think that's where I'm kind of at now, where it's like, I only have less than 100 people, subscribed. My videos get less than 100 views, if that, and the ones that do, don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly thankful for all the views. But it's just like, is it worth me putting in these 10, 15, 20 hours into this video when maybe I should go out and get a part-time job?
Yeah, I mean, a part-time, flipping burgers at McDonald's is going to make you more money than YouTube is for your first 3 years. I can almost guarantee it.
100%. And, like,
That's
if I
why
didn't have the job I have, I wouldn't be doing this,
Yeah. And because YouTube is an investment more than it is a hobby at points. It's an incredibly rewarding hobby.
100%.
But, every dollar I've made on YouTube so far, which is not a lot, I've spent far more on my lighting set, my camera, the computer I use to edit, the games that I buy to play, to review them, whatever it might be. My microphone, because this is my second microphone. I have I have 3 microphones.
I think I'm on my third too. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Because I had the Yeti, the YouTube starter kit. I have this mic, and then I have a Rode this boom mic for more on shot.
Yep.
Whatnot.
But getting back to where I was, I find it really interesting that here you are in charge of basically. Excuse me, I thought I was gonna. Nope, still might do it. Anyways, like, you're in charge of what is equivalent to a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week convention for creators or new creators or people that are, like, debating on whether to dip their toe into the creator space. Because in my experience with these subreddits and with these Discords, there's either like a self-promo section and really everybody just posts their links and nothing ever happens there, kind of like the beginning of YouTubers, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Or it's like you will post it and be like, hey, listen, I'm not asking for subscribers. I just want some feedback. And, like, you might get 4 or 5 people interested in, giving you decent feedback, but then you get an overwhelming amount of, you're just self-promoting,
So that's actually what we did when we first took over YouTubers. The first thing I did was there was a promo link to a network that no longer existed, I think. So I removed that because A, no, it was a scam network, and B, no, we're not going to send random creators with 10 subscribers to a network. That's stupid. But the second thing I did was I established a rule set that was explicit that you cannot self-promote. Period. If you try and be coy with it, you're going to get caught. And you're going to get talked to, because we YouTubers are not your audience. none of us are going to watch your videos full time.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, it's just how it is. Like I
Yeah.
actively watch the videos of people that have become my friends through YouTubers, but
Mm-hmm.
that's 10 out of 110,000 people.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be in that group. And YouTubers are the worst audience you can have because they're too busy working on their own stuff. I promise.
I know
Uh,
that's the worst part about
uh,
creators because I feel so guilty about it too. Because like y'all have fellow creators on, and then like, hey, did you check out my new video? And I'm like, no, because
yeah,
I kind of was like in my writing hole.
and that's why I don't ask because that's not fair to ask that because everyone's busy.
Yeah.
But so what we did was we removed self promotion entirely and said if you want to self promote, you have to first give feedback to 2 other people, so that every time you share your own video once, you are giving your thoughts twice, so that you're giving more than you're taking ever.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of expanded that out over the first couple years, and then it's a little bit different now, just because now there's such an overwhelming amount of people that it's kind of a grander scale thing. So we kind of changed that entirely and segregated it out to its own Feedback Friday thread, because it got to the point where people were asking for feedback in separate threads, because we would say, hey, if you want feedback, you can make your own thread, or if you want to critique people, you can make a thread where they can post their links and you have to go through and critique them. They're still supposed to go through and critique 2 others before they do that, but it's hard to police that.
Yeah.
So it became more of a, if you want feedback, go here. I think we still have a self-promote Saturday that we're kind of planning on probably getting rid of. That we're always on the talks of getting rid of the self-promote Saturday threads because they're there, but who cares? No one watches them.
Yeah, it's you just send it out. It's like a dark ether that everyone just puts their stuff up, and then no one ever checks it out.
Yeah, which it's there so you kind of get it out of your system.
Yeah.
Prevent cracks and everywhere else. But the way we had done it was that you had to give back more than you took, because that way you were building a community every time you asked for feedback, and you were getting some that might not be totally valuable. It might just be, hey, good video, I liked it, even though that's against the rules that we had set. But whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was some way of building somebody else up more than you're going to be built up yourself.
100%.
And there are creators that I won't name names, but there are creators that have taken or left feedback from YouTubers, either or both, that have gone on to have, I think one just crossed 100,000 subscribers this week. Treesicle, I don't know if you're familiar with Treesicle.
Nope.
I think around 1 million subscribers, a little over 1 million subscribers. They started on YouTubers with us.
That's cool.
I think there's a channel that has 3 million subscribers that started with us. There's several channels that have blown up, not thanks to us. I don't want to take credit for anything that that we've done. But
I don't want to take credit for anything that we've done. Just
that they've done, I should say.
I 100% understand.
Right.
I'm just
I don't want to take credit as if we've done that for them, because they did the work. But they've come and told us that you having that community was enough to help me understand something that I wasn't doing right, or keep me going, or that I was there was enough to keep me motivated or determined that I kept wanting to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear that from creators with 7 figures of subscribers, with their play buttons, with whatever it might be, that's rewarding.
And I feel like that's like, let's be honest here. If we have to be honest with ourselves when you start this whole YouTube creator road, and it's like, and I'd be willing to bet 90% of us get in it for the money. Like, we want to make money on what we create. Wouldn't that be awesome if I got paid to make videos on the internet? Like, yeah, I'll say yeah. But then you have to realize, or you have the rude awakening like I did, which was, oh, that's not going to happen until you make content, or until you learn and stumble along the way. And that's where I'm at now.
The first month is the easiest month of your YouTube career, because you just make videos and you're like, this will work soon, and then you start seeing like, oh, I have 10 views. Yes. Oh, how do I get people to watch? Oh, how do I get recommended to others?
Yes.
On and so forth.
But then, like, you have to hit that point where you realize, okay, the money's not going to come. and you have to, and you hit that point where you realize the money's not going to come, and you have to ask yourself, do you want, if the money never comes, would you continue to do it? And for those
Yeah.
of us that drop off, the answer is no. But for those of us that stick around and continue to, do what we do, the answer is yes. Because at the bottom line, we are creative people. And if we're not creating, we feel like we're kind of stifling ourselves at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how it is for me. I'm like, if I'm not writing, if I'm not thinking about something that I'm going to make, I'm going to explode. And like, I have this feeling, like after 3 days of me not being able to do this, it's literally a feeling of, I got to get something out,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I mean, nail on the head, really. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It's the number one thing. There have been a couple studies. I don't remember. I can't cite them off the top of my head. But the number one thing that kids want to be when they grow up now is famous.
Yeah, is a YouTuber.
Yep, YouTuber, Twitch streamer. More broadly,
social media influencer.
More broadly, famous.
Yeah,
they want to have fame, and that says a lot. You could say about society. I would say not in terms of this generation, because I mean the previous generation wanted to be pop stars. The generation before that wanted to be rock stars. The generation before that, it's always been a thing that people wanted to have that adulation because they want to know that they matter in a tangible way, and all of you do. First off, but second off, it's a human feature to our species that we want to be desired. We want to be valuable.
100%.
And being a YouTuber is just the next to being a rock star or being a pop star or being a famous comedian or rapper or actor or whatever it might be, except that you can do it and start it at any point. Because you can. I've learned to play guitar, not well, but there was a point where I was like, oh, let me play guitar, and if I'm good, I could be famous. And I played guitar, and it's cool for the first week, and then after a week, your fingers start to hurt because it's a lot of work and it hurts grinding your fingers
and you don't have those calluses
against that string. And then over time, you build those calluses if you stay determined, or you can play until your fingers bleed, or you can stop playing. I'm one of those where I got the calluses and then I stopped playing. But I had those calluses that showed to me and in my head looking back that I had the drive to keep doing it even when it didn't come from anything to anything yet.
Yeah, and like for me, and like this is a weird thing for me because like I said, when I first started, I just wanted to be the guy that wrote. I wanted to talk about video games and in very interesting ways and ways I didn't think they were doing. I was like, it'd be nice to get money to talk about video games, like, wouldn't that be awesome? But like, but in the back of my mind, there was always that voice that was like, wouldn't it also just be awesome to like, I don't know, find out these awesome, amazing stories behind a developer or a video game that you love? And that's, after a few failed partnerships we talked about earlier, that's where I'm at now. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. If the money comes, it comes. If it doesn't come, it doesn't come. But I want to do this because, like, there's so many amazing stories, and
yeah,
the
behind the scenes, the behind the scenes stories. Sorry to cut you off. Are better than the stories told in games. Always doesn't matter where it is. It could be in games. It could be
some.
Generally speaking,
95% yes, 5%.
Like what you can hear from what happened, unless it's the perfect game where everything goes right, usually is a better story than that game will probably tell itself.
100%.
And that's not just for games. That's for movies. That's for
television, radio shows, comic books,
pro wrestling. In pro wrestling, you don't really care about the on-screen stuff as much as you care about what happened behind the scenes to cause it.
Yep.
So many different, all entertainment is my point.
100%, dude. Well, Kevin, I feel like we've talked around this topic enough for this interview podcast. We're hitting our hour mark, and I know you said you have about a half hour, and work is now calling me because, well, why not, right? So,
always.
At this point, I think it's a good time for us to end. Guys, go check out Kevin's channel. It's amazing. The Last of Us video is amazing. I can't really speak to. Well, I watched like two. I watched like 2 of your plus ones. I was like, this is great. Not for me, but
Yeah,
great.
that's
you know,
yeah. They're fun videos to make. They help me like cleanse my
decompress.
palate.
Yeah,
Not compress. The fact that I can get a video out from recording the game to rendered video in like a day, that's a big jump from what I normally do. So it's nice to have those, even if they're not for everybody, especially as my audience continues to grow.
I got you.
But thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, man. We're definitely. See, like you and I did the same thing that me and James did, where it was mainly I let you talk about streaming or YouTube, and I was like, yeah, I love this.
I can find a way to talk for an hour about anything. I promise.
Oh yeah, let me go on the Revolutionary War or the history of Sony, and we're golden.
Oh,
Oh man. Anyways, guys, I thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look into a more successful YouTuber and a just starting out YouTuber, and as well as the broader YouTube topic as a whole. Yeah. See you guys next time. Bye. You can say bye too.
bye bye.